Hello, I'm Brent Ferris from the Bearded Man Studios, and right now I'm installing an Ubuntu server on to a virtual machine on Hyper-V, which is built in the Windows. So we're going to build and run our server on this from Unity. So to start, we're going to jump over into Unity. And inside of here, we're going to add the menu, which is the one we're currently in, and we're going to add resources, which is the scene that's going to load. And I'm going to switch over to Linux, and I'm going to go to headless mode and turn that on. Now I'm just going to go to build and run, or not build and run, sorry, just build. Let's make folder, builds. We'll do a headless Linux. We'll just call this server test. So that's all built out, and it's probably going to take a minute for this Ubuntu to finish, so I will, I don't need any of these. I will pause the video until it's done. Okay, so my virtual machine finished installing. I should have actually checked OpenSSH on that install screen because I'm going to need that. So here we are, and we're actually going to, I'm going to install OpenSSH now, just because I'm going to need it so I can transfer the files. So I'm going to install the server. Make sure I spell that right. And we'll just skip this. Okay, now that that's installed, let's do an ifconfig to check out what our local IP address is, so that we can connect via SSH in order to, or SFTP, so that we can upload our files. So I have an SSH client here. I'm just going to connect, and I'm going to put in this IP address up here. 192.168.0.12. If you're hosting on the cloud, you're going to use your static IP address in that, and I would suggest you using a secure method of connecting and not just using usernames and passwords. So however you want, you can use FileZilla or WinSCP, or maybe an upload that you have through your cloud provider. It's up to you, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to be using SFTP. So let's grab this. Okay, in my file system, and it doesn't really matter where I'm at in my file system. Right now I'm in home/Brent, so this is where I'm at inside of my client. And what I'm going to do is go over here to my build, if this thing will let me. There we go. So here's my build with all my files, server test x86. I'm going to drop this into that Brent folder. And now that it's in there, I'm going to make sure that I have it all in there. So there it is. So I need to make this file executable. So I can do that with sudo chmod +x. I'm going to do it to the file name, which is server test.x86. And you'll see that turned green for this instance. Now I can try to go ahead and run it to see if it works. So /servertest.x86, and it'll say if you haven't set up some libraries on Ubuntu server, since this is a fresh install, it may say no such file or directory. And if you are on the tutorial page of the website, you'll see that we actually provide you with a solution on how to solve this. So for this one, you actually need to download the 32-bit application, or you need to run the libc. So you're going to need this to run 32-bit applications, since this is a 64-bit build. So I'm going to do a sudo apt get install libc 6-i386. Make sure I spelled that right. Yes. I'm going to pause till it's done. So now that that's in, I'm actually going to disconnect my SFTP. I don't really need this anymore. Okay. Now what we could do is we can try to run it again. And now this one will actually give you a little bit of a better warning saying that it's missing libstdc++.so.6. And to solve this, we do sudo apt get install lib32 stdc++6. And I'll pause the video again. Okay, now that it's installed, I'm going to try it yet again. So this time you see that it actually ran, and our server is technically up and running. Now, well, our application is now up and running, but our server is not, because we created a build with the menu scene. And remember, to host to actually host inside of the menu scene, you have to click the host button, which we can't necessarily do in a Linux build. So I'll show you how you can actually start up a Linux server automatically using Forge, and then we'll re-upload that, and we'll see how that works. So I'm going to jump over to Unity real quick. I'm going to press Control-C to cancel that. So I was just jumping over to see if I still had some of my scripts available inside the package, and what I do have in here is an auto start. And this script, you'll find it inside of the Forge networking package. It's actually used to auto start a bunch of servers, which we'll have another tutorial on. But we can copy this script over and jimmy up so that we can create a Headless Linux automatic start. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I will provide the source code on this as well. So we're going to see it actually how I'm going to change that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy everything inside of here. I'm going to jump back into Unity, and I'm going to create a C# script called start headless Linux. Pile that out. Open this up. Okay, so we have our start headless Linux. I'm going to highlight everything and paste it. And then I'm going to change this name back to start headless Linux. Okay, so we're just going to make a couple of changes in here. So first of all, we don't need this is_when_rt stuff, so we can get rid of that. Second of all, we don't need to do the initialize firewall check because we'll open up the firewall on Linux ourselves. Next, we don't need this check. We just want to automatically start a server, so I'm going to have start on start. We're going to start server. We don't need the start client. I'll get rid of that. We have this go, which we're going to need to start it up. Let's see. Load the scene. And on level with loaded, we don't need this, so we're going to take this out. So we have all we have left is the load scene, the go function, the start server, the start function, and the awake function. We don't need some of these properties, so if you want to clean them up, you can do that as well. So let's make sure that I didn't make any mistakes on this. We're going to jump over to Unity and let it compile. So what we're going to do, I just compiled it and checked out the errors. What we're going to do is we didn't change out the is_when_rt stuff, so let me start headless. Okay. Let's jump down to the is_when_rt. Let's put false into there. And then we will jump back to Unity and let it compile. So now that we have set that up, that's all that we needed. What we're going to do is there is a Forge auto start headless Linux scene in here, and this is an old scene that hasn't been fixed, and it has auto start in it. So we can actually put our start headless Linux script into that auto start, and it'll have all the stuff we want set up. And we need to change this to hello cube resources because that's what we're loading. So let me make sure I spell it right. I'll copy the name. Hello cube resources. All right, so that's in there, and I'm going to add this scene. So I'm going to add current. I'm going to make it the start scene since we don't need the menu scene anymore. I'm going to grab our main thread manager, drop that in here, save out this scene, and I'm going to hit play to make sure it starts the server. Okay, this came up here, so let's go to our command prompt, net stat-an, and let's make sure that 15937 is showing up here. So here it is right here, 15937. So we are hosting our server. So great. Now we can make this build for Linux. So I have Linux still checked and headless mode still on. So I'm going to build this. I'm going to overwrite my old one. Okay, that is built. So by the way, I'm going to upload the scripts for this up to gist, so you don't have to actually type them out if you don't want to. And also, if you get a later build, all this will be a part of it. So I'm going to go back and, oh geez, I forgot my IP I was using here again, ifconfig. There we go. So put in that IP address, 192.168.0.12. And I'm going to actually re-upload this. So let's re-upload this. I'm going to actually delete these. I am this user, so it's fine. Okay. So now I'm going to re-upload these. Alright, now that they're up, I'm going to do the chmod again on the server test.x86, and then I'm going to run /server test.x86. Now the server is actually running, so we can jump over to Unity and connect via the start menu. So I'm going to go to start, or I'm going to go to menu, and the host address is going to be 0.12, so I'm going to put that in, 192.168.0.12, and of course it didn't type it, 192.168.0.12. Let's press play, my port's right, using UDP. Alright, so now I'm going to say join server with this IP. That IP address was added here. And there we go. So I have actually joined the Linux server, and that's why there's two cubes in here. This one's actually the Linux server that's running. Now, if you're running behind a firewall, or when you do this check to connect and you're not able to connect via your static IP address on your server, it may be because you need to open up the ports for your Linux server. So what you could do is sudo IP tables, sudo IP tables, let's make this clean, IP tables -I input 1-p udp -d port. And then we're going to put in the port number, which is 15937. This is going to be the port number that you choose. It doesn't have to be that number. It's whatever you built out to host on. And we're going to do accept. And now if you're using TCP, which is unlikely unless you're using the web player, or all your connections are going to come from web player, you can just replace this with TCP. And it'll open up your IP tables that way, and then you should be able to connect from there. So if you have any questions, please let us know. And again, all of this is going to be on the web, on our developer portal, so check that out. And until next time, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please let us know. I'll talk to you later.